Welcome to the Canadian Beef Cattle Podcast, presented by the Beef Cattle Research Council. The most popular content from beefresearch.ca, available on the go. Before we get into this week's episode, a quick message from the BCRC.
Ensuring newborn calves consume colostrum is one of the most important management strategies cow-calf operations can implement to promote healthy calves. Colostrum provides essential antibodies to a calf with virtually no immune system. Colostrum also contains fats, vitamins, proteins, and other immune cells essential to provide the calf energy, warmth, and the local immunity it requires to thrive in the first few days of life. It is crucial for producers to observe newborn calves to make sure they have received colostrum and to intervene if necessary. Learn more about handling colostrum by clicking the link in the show notes. This episode is titled, Remember the 4 Principles of Pasture Management.
Pasture is a key component of beef cattle operations, and one definitely worth managing. At first glance, grazing a pasture may appear as simple as placing cattle in a fenced area with a water source. However, practicing effective grazing management is an art and a science. Pasture conditions and types vary widely from native grassland to tame forage, with stands comprised of many diverse plants or perhaps just a simple mixture of a few grass or legume species. Regardless of the pasture type, focusing on a few key principles can help maintain forage productivity, ensure stand longevity, sustain a healthy plant community, conserve water, and protect soils. Here are 4 main factors to remember. Factor 1. Balance forage supply and livestock demand. Avoid overstocking a pasture by ensuring there is adequate forage available for the number of cattle and length of time the cattle will be grazing. The BCRC's Carrying Capacity Calculator, which you can find a link for in the show notes, can help producers determine a starting point for their stocking rates. In addition to grazing, remember to factor in a utilization rate to account for trampling, wildlife, or insects. General guidelines for native pasture suggest a utilization rate of about 25 to 50%. And for tame pasture, a utilization rate of 50 to 75% is a built-in buffer that allows the pasture to sustain itself. Factor number 2, distribute grazing pressure across the pasture. When left on their own, cattle will prefer to graze moist, productive areas of a pasture and avoid dry hilltops where the forage quality may be lower. Cattle can be managed to graze a pasture in a relatively uniform manner using different methods depending on forage type, topography, and goals. Temporary or permanent fencing, placement of salt and mineral, and stock water locations can all be strategically maneuvered to effectively move cattle. Working with available resources is important, as outlined in a blog and webinar about adaptive grazing management, which you can also find a link for in the show notes. Factor 3. Provide rest for pasture plants during the growing season to help plants recover. Forage plants need time to rest to allow them to replenish their energy reserves and prepare for the next grazing event. If plants don't have adequate time to recover, pasture productivity can dwindle and pastures can become susceptible to weed infestations, soil erosion, and winter kill. And factor number 4, avoid grazing during sensitive times. Grazing too early can set a pasture back for the whole season. A general rule of thumb is for every day grazing is deferred in the spring, you gain 2 days of grazing in the fall. Other situations, such as grazing wetlands or species at risk habitat, may benefit from deferring grazing until nesting season is over or flood potential has subsided. And don't forget to manage pastures to retain adequate litter cover. Litter is the dead or decaying plant residue left from previous growing seasons, and it is a valuable resource in both tame and native pasture stands. Litter insulates the soil, keeping it warm in the winter and cool in the summer. As it breaks down, litter provides nutrients to the surrounding plants, and it is a wonderful safeguard for reducing soil erosion and water loss due to evaporation. There's a reason why litter is often called a rancher's insurance policy, because it helps pasture systems maintain moisture in dry years and help maintain forage yields. There are many different types of grazing systems promoted by groups and individual producers, including but not limited to rest rotation, AMP, which is adaptive multi paddock, intensive or strip grazing. While each system has its own benefits and drawbacks, almost all systems factor in the four key principles of grazing management. By carefully managing pasture as the valuable resource that it is, forage production and range health can be sustained for this season and for many years to come. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. You can find all relevant links and information at beefresearch.ca or in the show notes. The Beef Cattle Research Council is funded by the Canadian Beef Cattle Checkoff and strives for excellence in the production of Canadian beef, cattle, and forage through research, innovation, and extension. Tune in every Tuesday as the Canadian Beef Cattle Podcast delivers straightforward insights, expert information, and a wealth of practical knowledge for Canadian beef producers. Subscribe now.